You've hit play on the Screen Companion, where we'll help you pick something for movie night. Today, we're talking one of the greatest shows ever, The Wire. Specifically, the second season from 2003. And in this installment, the first 4 episodes of Season 2, which are Ebb Tide, Collateral Damage, Hot Shots, and Hard Cases. We need to approach this a little differently. We need some guide rails. Here are my ground rules. Tell me what you think of them, John. First one, no politics outside of the world David Simon portrays.
Okay.
When we're talking the streets, we're talking Baltimore in the show. When we're talking crooked cops, it's about the cops as depicted by Simon and the other writers. I want this podcast to exist for 100 years, and when people listen to it then, I don't want there to be too much modern-day politics. Because eventually, hopefully, it will pass out of the public consciousness and things will be different.
Yes, hopefully.
Also, there are so many little traps in this show that we could get political, but then I think we would stop talking about the show at a certain point. I don't want to do that. I want to stay focused.
Agree. I definitely made a note about something that happens in the first episode that did not age well.
Number 2, and this is going to be hard for you, John, but I know you can do it. No actor names to refer to their characters. Character names and titles only.
A lot of the people in this, if I see them something else, I call them their character from this.
If you have a brain fart, don't worry, that's the magic of editing. But let's not let ourselves slide and just start talking about, well, when Idris Elba confronted Dominic West...
It's always going to be Stringer and McNulty. Maybe Luther. I might call him Luther once or twice by accident.
Number 3, no discussing later seasons. We can go over some stuff from Season 1. Obviously, we're in the midst of Season 2, but this was a 5-season series. Who knows, maybe we'll do some other seasons at some point, but let's try to stay within the timeline that the characters are experiencing. And number 4, no discussing actor appearances on other television shows or movies. It's kind of related to number 2.
Yeah, that seems fair.
So, when I mentioned wanting to do a pod about The Wire, you made me jump for joy when you said your favorite season was the second, as that's my favorite too. John, why is it tops for you?
So Season 1's really good, but when you first start Season 1 and you don't know these characters, I remember the first time it's just like, this is really cool, but it just jumps into it. You're not set. It really does hit the ground running. And Season 2 does the same thing, but you've got all of Season 1 now to rest upon and be like, this is really good. Especially rewatching it now. I think I like the crime more.
Why is that?
Because Season 1, I was raised on a farm, and so Season 1 is entirely about inner city crime. And then some of the crime that appears in Season 2 is definitely something that I can wrap my head around more.
But you didn't grow up on the docks.
I did grow up on the docks, but it's union workers. It's corrupt people. There's no drug-slinging union. There probably should be.
That's true. You know, you are hitting on something. I've never dealt drugs, but I've dealt with unions.
Yeah, unions. Everyone's dealt with a union at some point. Not everyone has necessarily dealt with drugs.
Oh, boy. But we're only going to talk about unions as it relates to this show.
Yes.
It'll be very hard. If I ever go off the rails, pull me back, John.
Yeah, I don't want you being buried in Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
42nd yard line or whatever.
Are there any other major reasons why you like Season 2 so much?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I can't think of them.
Okay. Just sometimes I want to make sure I don't cut you off early. You might have gold for me.
I am gold. I don't know what you're talking about.
The reason why Season 2 is my favorite, I think it boils down to two reasons. The strength of the Sabatka arc, characters that are in over their heads, and that it's a crime organization that isn't the typical street gang stuff that we had in Season 1. All of the other mobs are domestic, but the Greek is a taste of larger things going on in the world and takes advantage of Baltimore as a port city. In fact, had they went for a sixth season, David Simon was interested in looking at the massive influx of Latinos. Like the Docks and the Greek, that would have contrasted really well with the inner city crews that dominated the show for most of its seasons. Actually, I think all the seasons besides Season 2.
Yeah, definitely. This feels like Stringer's here, but this is his backseat season.
Definitely, and especially in these first 4 episodes. But what would you say makes The Wire The Wire?
Being on HBO really helped it, because we've already talked about how much we love Homicide, Life on the Streets, which also takes place in Baltimore. Cops swear. Cops get angry. They couldn't swear on that show. I don't want to just boil it down to, like, swearing. It's one of those full-scope shows. You get everything. You get their personal lives, and again, because it's on HBO, you got time for the show to breathe. So you get their personal lives, you get what all the criminals are up to. Everybody's human, and it's not 100% about the case, which, like, I feel like every cop show before this was. You look at Law and Order, that just moves. There's a new act every 5 minutes because of something else.
I feel like they've brought in a little bit more of Benson's personal life. Because, damn, SVU is still on.
Well, they don't run out of crimes, but they definitely have to be running out of people caring about just the procedure.
I don't know. If they were going to get tired of the procedure, they would have gotten tired of it after the first or second season. The only thing that's really changed is that these people have gotten older.
It's all about the bum in Law and Order.
I mean, when's the last time you saw SVU?
I don't know. I think when Christopher Maloney's character left the first time.
Yeah, it's been around so much, there's a first time he left.
Yeah, that is, yeah. Because I know they're like, if they're bringing him back, I'm like, ooh, and then I never checked it out, and now he's on the mob version.
I saw it 4 months ago at a hotel in Georgia.
Georgia.
It looked a little slicker, obviously, in HD, but damn, it was basically the same thing. I've heard some people really appreciate that consistency. But damn, just rewatch old episodes. Why does it still need to be on?
There's no overarching arc. There's no bigger story going on.
Become an active listener by joining the Screen Companion. Subscribe on YouTube, hit us up on X, and our Facebook group. Let us know your favorite episodes and what topics or films we should tackle next. Further support the host by buying his novel, Self-Recognition, a futuristic detective story, available on Amazon in print and digital formats. Now back to the show. So these days, what made The Wire so special, individual parts of it, there are more examples, but especially when it was on in the early 2000s, stuff like a diverse cast, diegetic music, I really love that one, simple camera angles, tons of side characters, an absence of gunplay, and the slow, multi-arc plotting. I don't really know how many shows have tried to tackle that structure since.
It's police work, especially going with your lack of gunplay. Not a lot of shows try to show real police work. Even Season 2 still has aftermath of the big case from Season 1. You know, they're still looking for their star witness. Paperwork issues. That's actual police work.
I can understand how some people would find that annoying or uninteresting. I don't want to speak for them, so I'm going to say this is all me imagining. Frequent guest of the show, Stacy. I got a feeling Stacy would not appreciate watching a guy write a report. But I like it because it is so real.
Yeah.
And then when somebody does get stabbed, it makes it so much more poignant because you don't get that all the time.
Not enough shows take their time and show reality.
And then it's like, if a show is willing to give you a scene, like in these episodes, McNulty looking at tide tables. That sounds boring. Him doing his little calculations. But when you think about all the character stuff wrapped around why he's doing it and how definitely it's going to tie into the larger arc of the season, it's like it takes a lot of balls for a writer to go, I am so confident in these characters, and you guys have been with us already for a season, that I'm willing to just show you this dude use a protractor, and you're still going to like it.
Right? He's got so many better things to do, but he's going to get out that protractor so he can be mean to his former captain.
I was feeling it when he's drawing a line on the map of the Patapsco River, the way the floater drifted from one part of the river to the other. I could feel McNulty, the hate he had for Major Rawls. It was all just to screw his former boss.
Because he didn't want to be on a boat.
Most modern stuff I've seen, it's like they cover up for a lack of character development with the gunplay, with the explosions. So that's why I think The Wire is so darn high quality.
Again, I'm going to give credit to HBO on that one, because each episode is a solid hour. And it doesn't really seem to drag anywhere, even though it is doing stuff like protractor lines or paperwork.
How did you come to find The Wire? What's your background with it?
I want to say my uncle was a huge fan of The Sopranos, and he was always talking about it.
And that somehow led to The Wire?
Yeah, because it was on at the same time. Oh, HBO's making TV shows and they're great. I got to check out everything. And I think I was renting them a season behind from the video store.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't have HBO.
Give a shout out. Where were you renting it from?
It was a place called Pick-a-Flick.
Pick-a-Flick?
Yeah.
How quaint.
Yeah.
How small town.
Yeah, it was very, yeah. Well, it's this little shack called Pick-a-Flick right next to Checkers Pizza.
Ooh. That's a smart business move. Pizza and rentals go very well together.
Yeah.
Back when HBO DVDs were fancy, I got the first season as a high school sophomore, and I was hooked by the end of the first episode. By the final season, I was watching it with my dad when I'd come home from college for winter break. David Simon's been on my radar ever since.
Nice.
And I'll give any of his work a try. Have you watched much of his later stuff after The Wire?
I don't think so. Let's see what he's been up to.
He's still getting steady work. He's never stopped being highbrow. That's quite an accomplishment this day and age. I thought Treme was pretty good, that show about New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, I think I watched the first few episodes of that, and that was one of those, like, I can't watch this because the people I was surrounded by at the time were just too up their own ass.
I love Generation Kill, that one he did about the Iraq War.
Oh, yeah, I did watch some of that. That was pretty good.
I also read his book that the show Homicide is based on, and I enjoyed that too. I just wish he'd branch out into other genres. Imagine him bringing his storytelling structure and attention to detail to something like Star Trek.
Oh, man. That would be... I think the original nerds would love that. It would be a 20-minute segment of them trying to figure out the numbers on, like, a cooling issue in the warp core.
It would be The Expanse on crack.
Yeah. It'd be the most beautiful thing with a tear in my eye.
He'd take 5 years just to research all the science.
The made-up science.
It would be so accurate, NASA would consult him on their next launch. So let's get into the actual meat and potatoes here. The first 4 episodes of Season 2. Let's break it up into the different story arcs, the main arcs of the season. Let's start with Jimmy McNulty and the investigation. There's a floater in the Patapsco River, and Marine Unit Patrolman Jimmy McNulty will end up tying the body to a shipping container filled with dead girls. Nursing a grudge over being reassigned from homicide to a boat, he lays the murder investigation at the jurisdictional doorstep of the Western District and his old boss, Major Rawls. However, to prove he's not a complete asshole, McNulty decides to find a name for the anonymous floater so that she won't be buried in an unmarked grave. At home, his rocky marriage gets worse as his wife sends him separation papers to sign. Now, the season opens with a yacht full of rich people having engine troubles. So as not to get brought in before the conclusion of their merriment, a guy gives McNulty some dough. We don't see if he shares the bribe with his sergeant. John, do you think he splits it 50-50, keeps most of it, or possibly pockets the whole amount?
He didn't go straight 50-50. It's McNulty.
Oh, see, now this is where we deviate. So that's who you think he is, huh?
Especially, later he complains about alimony payments, but he's still willing to make them. I think he shared some, but not all. I think it was a 60-40. Because he doesn't want to be there. He's a little jaded now.
In these first 2 seasons, do we ever see him commit any graft?
Nothing egregious.
One of the scenes when he hooks up with Bubbles, I remembered it as McNulty taking the Walkman from Bubbles. But no, Bubbles just offers it up to him.
Yeah, but it's a Walkman. That's not bribery. I mean, I guess not. Back then, those things are awesome.
But it was stolen. So I'm not saying Jimmy is a totally polished white knight, but he doesn't seem like the kind of cat to quibble over money.
No, yeah. Yeah. He even says he doesn't care about the drugs when he was looking for Omar.
Yeah, which, if memory serves, when I read Homicide, that's something murder police point out a lot, is witnesses might be worried about getting caught on another charge. So detectives reassure them, no, I'm not asking you about drugs. I just want to know about the murder.
Interesting.
That makes sense in that...
Yeah, it does.
If your job is to investigate a homicide, it goes along a lot easier if you have witnesses. And if the thing keeping you from getting witnesses is them worried that you're going to charge them with something else, plus they're homicide police, so they can't just then go and investigate drugs. They'd have to give it to some other department, and that takes extra effort, Who wants to do that? Not in The Wire.
And they're so worried about their clear rates and jurisdictions.
I had never heard of juking the stats until this show.
Yeah, same.
And now I use that line often when something doesn't smell right statistically. Jimmy McNulty is my favorite character in The Wire, mainly because he's a maverick who sucks at work politics, but is maybe in the top 5 best detectives on the show, like when he's using tide tables and harbor maps to pin that floater on the city instead of the county.
You got these off the boat? What, in winter? A couple of months. Fringe benefit. Can't catch crabs in homicide, right?
Except maybe the occasional emergency room nurse every now and again. Whew. Need some air in here.
Oh, leave it. I'm gonna need the hassle if Rawls comes past.
You're not the run-of-the-mill kind of asshole, are you, Jimmy? You're a special kind of asshole.
I'm special, right?
How long did it take you to figure out the tide took that girl over the county line?
3 hours.
3 hours. With your little harbor maps and your tide tables just to stick Rawls with an extra body. Never mind that you just fucked cold with a stone whodunit.
That's collateral damage.
Yeah. You wanna waste that crab gut? You're a pussy besides Jimmy. We need Omar, Jimmy. You see this?
13 girls?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Who caught it?
It ain't ours. Port Police has jurisdiction over Patapsco. Ain't gonna be a murder either. So who gives a fuck? Listen, Jimmy. I ain't got no case on Bird unless that crazy motherfucker Omar testifies. You hear me? It's time you should bunk the love.
You want love, you come and sit on my lap.
Shit.
How do you feel about the show's approach to depicting the minutiae of investigative work, or even details like how checkers do their jobs on the docks? You touched on it a little bit before, but did you gravitate to it immediately when you started to watch it, or did you appreciate it more as the seasons went along?
I really enjoyed it from the get-go because, like, not to harp on Law and Order all day, but it just moves so fast, I feel like I was missing details. I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't been able to think about it, but we've already caught the killer. This show moves at a pace where I can follow the case, too. I feel like I'm one of the detectives, and it's okay when they figure it out first, but I still feel like I'm there with them, like up to mental speed, if you will. And it gets better, I think, as it goes on.
And it feels so easy on Law & Order, whereas here, when they arrest somebody, you've definitely seen all the police work that goes into it, and it feels so much more earned.
Exactly. Law and Order, they just show up with the warrant, and they're like, we got you, sucker. And then this one, they're like, well, we gotta find a judge, we gotta find a lawyer. There's just two of our detectives who passed the bar, so maybe, I don't know.
But all these little details, like how they explain the job of a stevedore on the docks, talking about the shipping containers, all the jargon they use. This and Homicide: Life on the Street, which David Simon previously wrote for, they're in an exclusive class where they can get away with not shooting the bad guys or having it be all about the case. For the latter, I think it's on the strength of the characters, and in The Wire, it's the world building. I have zero interest in going to Baltimore, but the grime and its inner workings draw me in like I'm wearing VR goggles. Like, have you ever put on VR goggles that were of a really mundane place, but because you felt like you were somewhat there, it made it cooler?
You could just smell the crab.
It's the same feeling I get being immersed in The Expanse, only we're replacing the science with institutional rot.
Similar accents on some of them. I don't know. Sometimes that thick Baltimore accent is almost as bad as the Belter.
Also, Amos definitely seems like a dude that could be working on the docks.
Amos would absolutely be a Baltimore dock worker.
He would be the stand-in for Horseface. He would be Frank's right-hand man.
They're like opposite human beings physically.
That's true, but they both have their skills.
They do. True. They both could probably steal a cop van from underneath the cop's nose really easily.
I was surprised how well they recapped the wiretap from Season 1 in just a few minutes of dialogue that didn't feel like it was being said purely for the audience's benefit. Did you feel well enough caught up?
Yeah, I mean, I did rewatch a Season 1 recap somewhere, but yeah, I still understood what was going on. Like, one of the things I kept thinking about with those exposition scenes was how every other cop show, when they're interviewing like a witness or something, they're walking together. And then the scene ends with the quick revelation, and then they're on to something else. And whereas this one, like, you feel like the cop's there to get answers, and the other guy's trying to help, but he is busy.
How lazy can a writer get when they put up title cards to tell you where and when you are?
Yeah, that was always, it's Tuesday, 4 in the afternoon, we're down at the docks. An establishing shot, let us figure it out. This show definitely respects the audience more than most cop shows.
I mean, I'd really like to know what the Greek people are talking about. However, it ups the rep of the show that they're not going to tell me what they're saying. We just have to kind of think about what they're saying.
I think I had subtitles on because I live in a loud city, and I'm a millennial. That's what we do, right? And they still...
I'm Gen Y, sir.
Oh, my bad. What? Whatever. Yeah, even with the subtitles on, it still didn't show you what they were saying. What, Boris, whatever Russian name they kept calling that poor Ukrainian.
Yeah, sticking to the world of the show.
Mm-hmm.
In the world of the show, things didn't happen the way they're happening right now.
Nope. That joke aged very well in the context of the show.
That's something I only discovered in the last few years, how some subtitles sneakily reveal everything that's being said, and it just totally changes the flavor of what you're watching if you know everything that's being said, even in 4 different foreign languages.
The Thing, if you speak Norwegian, they give away the movie at the beginning, but they don't have those subtitles on.
I wonder who makes that call, because it's a different film when you know everything that's being said.
Because there's so many people involved in that process, right? And at some point, the director might not want it in there, but the studio is going to argue that they own the movie, or whoever has final cut, I guess.
I hope it's not just some subtitler at a disc manufacturing company.
See, that's, I think, ultimately what it would come down to. Like, some guy John Carpenter's never met is getting stuck with the bag.
Oh, I happen to speak Norwegian. I can subtitle this, too.
I'll put it down here, right here, yeah. Let's go.
Kill that dog. It's the Thing.
Yeah, it's the Thing.
The Thing is going to kill all of you.
The guy, it's the bad guy for the movie.
Its face is going to split open like a weird, funky flower.
May or may not win an Academy Award for special effects. I do not remember.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Just give me 1 or 2 details, okay, about each of these characters on the law enforcement side. Let's start with Bunk Moreland.
Bunk doesn't want to do his job, but when he's forced to, he's going to do it well.
Lester Freeman.
I really like the joke about his suit. I think he wants to show up to work nice.
I think the sergeant commented that Freeman's jacket...
Tweety, I think.
Tweety?
Yeah.
Impertinence.
Yeah, and he loved it. He loved that. He's just like, I like Tweety impertinence. Tweety, yeah.
And didn't he say that Bunk's clothes look like a lawyer?
Yeah, he called him a pinstripe something or other.
Yeah, which, among cops, I don't think they want to be called lawyers.
No, even though 2 of them have, passed the bar, right?
That's true. Or they're on their way to passing the bar. Which brings us to Kima Greggs.
Controlled anger issues.
Well, as long as she's controlling it.
It's there. I like her. She doesn't get a lot of screen time in these first 4 episodes.
True. This is just from memory because I haven't watched ahead. But once the investigation really kicks off, that's her wheelhouse.
She's on the task force with Cedric.
Yeah, but in the first few episodes she's doing desk duty, and I don't want to see her languishing. How about Lieutenant Daniels?
He's a cool cat.
My people's in. They are. You want out? You're out. But I'm offering to clean the slate here. You and me. Why? Council vote is next week, after which I'm upstairs. Now, if I'm going to give myself a chance to make my mark on this place, I'll need good people. People you can trust. And you ain't that. All right. You're a snake. But you seem to know your business. I'm taking the bar exam in a month. Why not put it off for a year or 2? Leave the department with a major's pension. Scalise is going to retire this summer. You do me a good turn on this detail in Southeast, and you'll have that posting. Why would you do that? I value you, Cedric. Look, you're arrogant and disloyal. But maybe, given time, you'll find a way to shine. What's the detail? Drug case, probably. My sense of it is Stan Valchek has got some personal issues with somebody in one of the port unions. He thinks they got too much money. And so, being Valchek, he gets a detail. That it? pretty thin. I don't care if you make a case with Valchek or not. I do care that the old Polak comes away from it feeling he got his money's worth. Valchek asked for me by name, didn't he? You two are trading horses and you need me in the corral. How about this? If I bring in the case, you make the detail permanent as a major case unit within CID. Fair enough. Just keep Valchek stroked and make sure you bring in a drug case or two. One other thing. A promotion and the promise of a specialized unit isn't enough. I choose my own people. Fuck me once, shame on you. Fuck me twice. Make a list. Give it to Rawls. He'll pull who you want.
It's going to break one of the rules. I love Lance Reddick. He's just got the coolest voice, and he's always so collected. Rest in peace, you magnificent bastard.
I got to see him at a recording of Ask Me Another, the NPR show.
Oh.
They recorded one in L.A. He was there along with Linda Cardellini.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was fun. Both very personable.
It's opposite ends of a spectrum of human being, I feel like.
Oh yeah, it was a variety show in more ways than one.
Yeah, right. He's so intense, and she's just like this bubbly little person.
He was a tall dude. How about Roland Presbeluski?
Presbeluski.
Prez.
I'm
getting the feeling you don't like Prez.
Well, Prez is okay. Prez doesn't stick out to me as much as the rest of them.
But he's got such a redemptive arc.
He's what they call it, even shit lands on his feet or something when Herc saw him.
It helps that his father-in-law is a major. But he also gets his act together, because in the first season he was a real screw-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in the first 4 episodes, the cops are on parallel tracks. Whose team are you more interested in? Bunk and Freeman on the dead girls, or Daniels, Greggs, and Presbeluski on the special detail going after the dock union?
It's gotta be Bunk and Freeman. Those two guys are just fun together. Bunk just showing out places with a cigar. I know we'll get there episode 4 when he's choosing music for Horseface.
And they move around, too, whereas the special detail, we just see him in offices.
They're in that cheap, broken office that's only set up because the Major is upset about a window.
Hey, it's got a furnace at that special detail office, that off-site place.
It didn't have windows.
You don't need windows. What's your favorite scene involving the cops?
From all 4 episodes or just episode 1?
From all 4. I'm going to make it harder for you.
I love it when McNulty, he tries to like come in as a detective again and tell them everything he's discovered, and then Bunk and Freeman are just like, oh, yeah, you were going to tell us that, and then after that you were going to tell us this piece of detail, and then after that you were going to tell us that detail. It was a good way to show that they were all good cops.
Dude, you read my mind.
Yeah, that's your favorite scene too?
Yeah, involving the cops.
It's great. It's old friends. They acted this way in season 1, but you didn't have the background, and now you have a whole season of background, and they're being sarcastic and funny to each other.
They had a background in the first season. It's just like you said, we got dropped in media res.
Yeah.
And we were learning it as they were obliquely referencing it. Who's your favorite character on the show?
Well, it's hard not to say McNulty. I feel like legally I'm supposed to say Omar. And I love me some Stringer. Stringer and Cedric. They're like the same guy, right? They're cool and collected. One's a cop and one's a criminal.
Whoa, they're not the same guy.
They're both this cool, I'm in charge here.
Well, yeah, but that's like one detail.
That's the only detail I'm concerned with.
You're making them like one-dimensional stereotypes.
They're not one-dimensional. I do love them both. But I'll say Omar. I quote Omar comment at work all the time.
I was just wondering how we both arrived at that scene being our favorite cop scene, and I thought maybe it was because your favorite was Bunk or Freeman.
I like them as a couple. I don't know how they work individually for me yet.
What's the better pairing for you, Bunk and McNulty or Bunk and Freeman?
Bunk and Freeman, they get each other.
They fit really well in an investigative sense, but I just love all the shit-talking between McNulty and Bunk.
And Bunk's a shit-talker.
And to a lesser extent Freeman, but he's older and wiser, so he knows when to stop.
He does, because Bunk and Freeman, they don't go too far, and they let each other be each other, whereas Bunk and McNulty are almost fighting. It's fun, but...
Well, they're the married couple. They're partners for life.
Yeah, they're partners for life. Bunk and Freeman, no, they let it go. They let each other go.
It's more professional. Well, let's move on to the second major storyline this season, which is Frank Sabatka and the Greeks. So Frank Sabatka is the treasurer and boss of a chapter of the International Brotherhood of Stevedores at the Baltimore docks. When he's not lobbying for dredging the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, he's looking out for his members. Also, he helps a crime boss known as the Greek smuggle stuff into the country, with nephew Nick Sabatka acting as a go-between. The waters get choppy when one of the Greek's containers is found by the port authority with those dozen dead prostitutes, and Major Valchek of the Southeast District sics a special police detail on the chapter because of a personal vendetta over a stained glass window. To make matters worse, Nick decides to go into business for himself, stealing a can full of digital cameras off the docks with cousin Ziggy, Frank's son, selling them to one of the Greeks' local fences. John, what stands out about the Greeks' organization in these early episodes?
I don't want to say generic, because it feels like every smuggling organization smuggles everything. Like, they don't have a specialization.
That's true. I think that's a symptom of them being more professional than the inner-city gangs. We can't say a heck of a lot about the organization because they keep it secret, as you would if you wanted to maintain a long-standing criminal enterprise.
They don't do dumb stuff like take random pictures of deals being made with cameras they stole.
Oh, yeah. That's so in line with who Ziggy is, though.
Guy, such a piece of shit.
Do you know anybody like that?
I feel like I know everybody like that.
You went to high school with a bunch of Ziggies?
I did go to high school with a bunch of Ziggies and just keep your mouth shut and it's gonna be fine. And they had to talk.
I'll do a quick rundown on some of the characters on the docks. So you've got Frank Sabatka. He's got a sense of humor. He's one of those rare bosses that you can put faith in and know he'll reciprocate. It's probably one of the major reasons I like him so much.
Is that, or is it when he was talking about his 3.5 inches of blue steel?
Oh, that too. Yeah, when you can joke like that with your people, that's a special relationship.
Yeah.
It might also be indicative of the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's true.
The canal gets dredged, it means we all work. Your people, my people. The canal's the key, Nat. You know this.
Yeah. But you know how much money you gonna spend to even get them talking about that shit?
We don't take a shot, we might as well roll over and die right now.
Nah, you get them to rebuild the grain pier. You get 100 ships right there.
That's break bulk, Nat. Best you can do is 1 or 2 extra gangs a week on them blowers, and that's 6 or 7 man gangs at best.
Yeah, but you try for that, you might actually come away with something. You go down to Annapolis asking for the goddamn canal, you gonna come back with nothing but your little shriveled ass dick in your hand. And what's more, if the grain pier don't get fixed up soon, some asshole's gonna fuck us by building condominiums all over it.
Nat, if the canal were 2 feet
Hey,
deeper.
fuck the canal. I'm gonna go to the district council. Huh? I'm gonna tell them to push for the grain pier. You feel me?
Nat, calm the fuck down.
Goddamn checkers local always acting like you're the king of everything and shit.
Nat, listen to me. If we
Y'all need to crawl back down in them holes. Remind yourself of who you is and where you come from.
Damn, Frank. We just sat here and watched Nat Coxon take a shit all over you. And shriveled dick motherfucker that you are, you take it.
For your information, I wake up every morning with an angry blue vein diamond cutter. I was going to enlighten the president of Local 47 on this particular point. He chose to depart. Blue steel, gentlemen.
For Christ's sake.
3.5 inches of hard blue steel.
You got Nick Sabatka. He feels like an example of generational mediocrity. He's not a bad dude, but his lack of ambition in life has him on the docks, same as his father and uncle, sticking with what's recognizable. He's a neighborhood guy who never thought to leave, but he complains about it a lot. But his girlfriend, who he has a kid with, she mentions it to him, like, well, if you're not getting enough shifts at the dock, how you find another job?
Yeah.
I don't think he even tries to look for another job.
Never occurred to him. Living in his mom's basement, and she has to get him up for shifts.
Oh, that was such a real detail when she's stomping on the floor to get his attention downstairs.
He makes a comment like, see, Mom knows I got a shift today, too.
Good anchorage, good cranes, good railroads, close to I-95, a lot of people ready to work, right? That's my fucking town. Except the thing is, we're not 110 miles for any ship coming up from Hampton Roads, an extra day. So why come, right? Why come unless you know your cargo's gonna move fast and clean through the port? Why offload in Baltimore except that the Baltimore gang will turn your ship around faster than any other port, and the Baltimore gang will make sure your cargo, all your cargo, gets where it needs to go faster than anywhere else.
Like you guys never stole nothing back in the day.
We ain't back in the day, Nicky. When's the last time you saw trucks backed up for 3 miles outside Patapsco Terminal? If it wasn't for the car ships, we'd be starving. The cameras come back. I'm serious. They come back today, we tell the shipper we lost a can in the stacks.
They're gone. We turned them over already.
To who? You know the Dasco line's a cunt hair away from taking their business down in Norfolk. I don't need this shit right now.
I do, Uncle Frank. I need the money.
God damn it! You ain't hearing me!
What, you think this shit is easy, huh? You think it's fucking easy? You try living on 5 or 6 days a month, see how fast it puts you on your ass. I'm on my ass, Uncle Frank.
You need money, you come to me.
Oh yeah, Frankie Sabaka's father fucking Christmas on the docks lately. No doubt his pockets are full, huh?
You think it's from me? Is that what you think, huh? It ain't about me, Nick!
So, as we mentioned, Ziggy, he's a loser with a big dick. So big, he pulls a prank on a guy by putting a photo of his junk on the victim's desktop. And the guy instantly recognizes whose piece it is.
Yeah.
How many times must Ziggy whip it out at the neighborhood bar?
That was a scene earlier. He was just like, don't whip your dick out again. And we're like, not tonight, not tonight. Ah!
But it makes sense, because that's the only asset he has.
Seems to be his only personality trait is big dick.
I mean, I don't know if I would pull it out as much as he does, but let's be honest with ourselves, Sean. If you had a giant piece, it would probably come out a little bit more often in public than it does right now.
It would definitely be more acquainted with the neighbors than currently.
It would have to be a non-zero number. I'm not saying I'd take it out as much as Ziggy does, but damn.
Someone would see it.
HBO, you see it a couple times.
It's HBO. They got a show. They got to have something for everybody. It can't be all just tits.
That's true. They're appealing to everybody. He wants to be a player, but he doesn't have the mettle of his cousin or dad. Foreshadowing that's going to come back to bite him in the ass later in the show.
Yeah. He's already flaunting with his leather coat.
We've got Horseface Pacusa, Frank's lifelong friend and right-hand man, doing whatever questionable things the treasurer and the union need done. Beatty Russell, she's technically on the law side, but as a Port Authority officer, all her backstory is on the docks. She's a 9-to-5er that got stuck with a case way out of her league, and she'll have to learn as she goes along.
She didn't even want to be a cop. Toll ticketing, and then got the writing tickets job for, $10 more an hour or something like that, and then found a bunch of dead bodies. Now she's a detective.
That's another real moment when she's hanging out with detectives at a bar, and she says, "Oh, damn, I gotta get back home or I'm gonna have to pay the babysitter all my salary. Finally, I'd like to mention Spiros Vondopoulos. He does business on behalf of the Greek. Very professional, except for his mentorship toward Nick, which the Greek thinks is due to Spiros not having a son. That's a detail that'll come out in future episodes, but I figured I might as well mention it here.
It's good to know backstory.
I've read that some fans find Ziggy too annoying, and a reason they didn't like Season 2. How do you feel about him?
He's really annoying, but it's realistic. I think you're living your life wrong if you don't come across people who are that annoying.
Okay, so when his scenes come on, you don't immediately turn off?
No, I don't turn off. It's like a car wreck. Because you can tell how much worse it's going to get for this idiot because he's an idiot.
And like a good novel, which David Simon compares The Wire to all the time, even when they're focusing on characters that I might not have a lot of affection for, I know there's going to be details in these scenes that's going to matter to the other stuff going on. If I turn off my attention to Ziggy, who's to say something he does won't affect McNulty in the next episode? You just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he's good for some levity. Yeah, he's that archetype that is inherently unlikable, the guy that won't accept he's not cut out to be a gangster, but every annoying scene is worth it for that last episode he's in with his father. Like, Frank's story wouldn't be as poignant without the part that Ziggy played in it.
Yeah, it's a self-downfall for both of them.
In these episodes, what's your favorite dock workers scene?
I don't know why, it always sticks out to me of when they're all having beers before work, and then they all get pulled over, and the one guy's like, who would drink at 8 in the morning? Why are you drinking at 8 in the morning?
Whoa, I believe he says who gets drunk at 8 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. My mistake.
There's a distinction to be made.
There's still alcohol in the system. I think that little shakedown led to, 4 guys missing their shifts because they were in the tank.
And it's also like if Valchek didn't have a bug up his ass about Frank, those guys would be able to just keep doing what they're doing, have a drink before work.
Over a window, which is Valchek's fault because he didn't check beforehand.
Yeah, but everything that happens in this show, it's always oozing with character. Like the way Valchek handled that stained glass at the church tells you everything you need to know about him. He's cocksure, he's an asshole, he doesn't think things through. This misunderstanding could have been figured out months earlier, but no, he's just like, I'm going to get the church a new stained glass window. They'll take it because it's me.
Every scene he talks about who he has pull with, why his son-in-law is going to be fine.
An example of the jargon in this show that I love so much is when they refer to favor that they have with other people and they talk about it saying, hey, do you have suction with him? Part of taking notes for the pod, I highlight scenes I want to use audio from. I'm not surprised the majority of scenes I wanted to clip are ones with the Sabatkas. I still like the Barksdale stuff, but we saw that in Season 1, and there's always a divide there. Like I mentioned before, I can relate to Nick's hardships more than I can someone like Stringer Bell, who has tons of cash and has ordered hits on people.
Stringer's running a criminal empire, which is something I can't even run myself.
Which leads us to Stringer Bell and the Barksdales. What's the number 2 to do after a wiretap sends half of the Barksdale criminal enterprise to prison? Stringer Bell is tasked with stabilizing their drug supply as the street dealers run low, and take care of the incarcerated members of the crew, including Kingpin Avon Barksdale and his nephew D'Angelo. A corrections officer named Tillman is making life difficult for the Barksdale inmates, so Stringer orchestrates a setup involving Tillman's side hustle, dealing cocaine on the inside. Avon is concerned with D'Angelo's drug use and asks him to stop for a few days to prove he's not addicted. When a smattering of convicts die from a tainted package, D'Angelo cuts ties with Avon. realizing his uncle knew about the hotshots and was leveraging it to make a deal with the Department of Corrections to find the culprits. On the outside, the new Atlanta supplier is proving weak, and Stringer worries how long they can step on an already stepped package before they lose consumer confidence. John, what were you more interested in? Stringer on the outside holding things together, or the prison scenes with Avon, D'Angelo, and Weebay?
That's tough because they were both really good. I gotta go on the inside. Just because first season was all, it's on the outside, now they're in, it's something different. It's a new environment for them to explore, especially after the poisoning all those inmates, Jesus. Just to see the inner workings of a prison. A lot of other shows did it too, but I feel like this was like one of the first, besides Oz, but we won't talk about Oz.
Oh, I love Oz.
Maybe someday we'll talk about Oz.
You could easily say that Homicide, The Wire, and Oz all take place in the same universe.
I don't see a reason why not.
Except for the fact that there's an inmate at Oz that looks an awful lot like Stabler. I love that Weebay wasn't done with the series. They could have shelved him at the end of season 1, where he takes a deal on a bunch of murders. But continuity gives the show so much verisimilitude. A lot of the cop shows, the bad guy goes to prison and that's that. Like they just blink out of existence. I realize people in prison are going to limit how you can use them in the future, but it's like looking at back issues. The cops get to comment on former cases and we get further insight. In Weebay's case, it's, what's the life of an inmate who's never getting out?
Don't say never.
Without giving anything away for later seasons. He never gets out, John.
I
don't know what you're talking about. He never gets out.
When Stringer set up the thing so that they could get some time off their sentences.
Yeah, but Weebay's in for life.
He is in for life.
On like 10 counts or something, you know?
Yeah.
Even if he could get in on Avon's deal, it's like, okay, Weebay, you're in here on 12 consecutive life sentences. We will erase one of those.
So you'll get out when you're 175, not 200.
Yeah, you're still going to die in here, but on paper, we're being lenient.
Yeah, we sleep better at night.
It fits with the dark tone of The Wire that Avon got busted in season 1, but things largely have not changed for him on the inside. He's still the big fish in the pond. He's eating KFC, for God's sake.
Yeah, that was such a weird scene, and like, I think he invited D'Angelo and he's like, get down on this. He's like, no thanks. He's like, are you insane? This is delicious.
He's in prison, and Avon's playing Xbox.
Yeah.
Which really helps date the show. That and the lack of smartphones.
There definitely should be, like, a phone hidden in a toilet somewhere.
I think that's really the sweet spot for detective shows. A time when you have some technology, you can do wiretaps, you have cell phones, but you don't have smartphones yet. So there's still that wiggle room of, it's not 1984 yet, where you can keep track of everybody.
Mm-hmm. You ever see that show, The Following?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Every time they had a suspect, clone his phone, do all that, like, they could go into every single aspect of his life, so it was just a weird... It no longer makes sense how people could get away with anything if the police think you're up to something.
Geez, the investigative work that McNulty does with the floater in the river. Nowadays, you could probably just go onto Google and type that in. Get an answer real quick.
McNulty said it took him 3 hours to come up with that, and now it would just be like a quick Google search says, that body started over there.
I want you to give me a snapshot of these characters from the Baltimore streets. Let's start with Stringer Bell. Besides, he's a cool cat.
Ah, that's all I got. He's collected himself, but there's a violence there that you don't want to see.
Give me an example of that.
I think he's banging D'Angelo's mom or someone, right?
D'Angelo's baby's mama.
Okay, because I couldn't remember who she was in the grand scheme of things.
Donette.
But
that's not violence.
That's not violence, you're right. He intentionally... We'll go with the rat poison in the drugs in the prison. How many people did he hurt? Like, he killed, 5 people?
I thought Avon gave him that mission.
Oh, I got the impression it was his, because in the following scene when they're talking about the thing from Atlanta, and he cut it to 10...
Oh, well, he was talking about the drugs going out into the streets.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm lost.
It's still possible it was originally Stringer's idea, because he is a conniving bastard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of The Wire. See, we just watched it, and we already have a reason to go back and watch it again.
All right, we'll go rewatch it.
You never saw him out the car?
No.
You stayed with him the whole time?
Every minute.
How long before he came out the parking garage? I mean, how long was he on his own?
Not enough time to do shit, Spring. I mean, he was in and out like 3 minutes.
Chill. Shit is fucked up.
Yeah, look, I
You
know.
followed directions?
I did, just like
You
you
wrote down
told
the
me.
mileage?
Yeah, it did. Let me see. See, right there.
No, you 0.3 of a mile long, dog.
Yo.
And if you followed directions, you wouldn't be.
Yo, String, I did everything like I should, man. Yo, I swear.
You got answers? You didn't have to take a detour in Camden when they shut down a couple of blocks on the boulevard? You hurt your foot?
My foot?
I don't know the way you kicked that tire jack the way you did.
You was on us the whole time?
Oh, me?
Y'all had people following us?
Avon Barksdale, what's he about?
Playing Xbox and eating fast food. He is a definite schemer. No matter the situation, he's in charge.
Who do you think's more of a psychopath, Stringer or Avon?
I gotta go with Avon.
Yeah, that makes sense in that I would imagine he would have more justification for killing people, whereas I think Stringer would try to avoid deaths if he could find another solution.
Because, Stringer understands the spotlight of a situation.
Yeah, and they've got that dichotomy that Avon is very much of the streets, he's comfortable there, and Stringer, he's going to community college. I don't think he sees himself as a full-time gangster.
Mm-mm.
How about D'Angelo?
He's a good kid, but he's a bad apple.
I know, he's so tragic, but then I think about stuff he did in season 1 and other stuff he's copped to. It's like, you're not innocent, though.
You're kind of caught up in this, but there's a few chances where you just walk away. Just walk away.
And then when I feel bad for Stringer, or even a low-level character like Bodie, I just remember what they did to Wallace. It's like, String! Where's Wallace? Where are you at?
Don't ask about Wallace.
Man, there are a lot of quotable lines from this show. Which brings us to Omar. Omar Little.
Omar coming.
He comes a couple ways.
Him as a little boy toy. I don't want to call him a wild card because you know he's just going to be a psychopath when he shows up. Predictably unhinged. How about that? Is that a good snapshot?
He's a bit of a chaos agent.
Yeah.
He's so reliable. You could pretty much know what he's going to do in any given situation.
Yeah.
Because he sticks to a code.
This code of murder and butt stuff.
I've never really thought of a sexual preference as being a code.
No, to each his own, I guess. It's definitely no one judged him for that. They're always judging him for the violence.
It's a real gay icon. Gays love the show, and they love Omar.
It's definitely presented as casual. It's not like his character he's gay. This is his character, and asterisks at the bottom where no one can see it is also he's gay.
Bodie Brodus.
Bodie.
What's he about? A lot of bees on the streets.
Yeah, there's too many bees on the streets. Sometimes it just feels like he's there for the paycheck. Other times it feels like he's there for the excitement.
He seems like he's similar to Nick Sabatka in that he's a product of his world. He mentions a few times he's only been out of Baltimore once. He's of the streets, and I don't think he's ever really considered doing anything else.
It's wild that he's only been out of Baltimore once, considering it's like a 5-minute drive to D.C. and Philadelphia.
He references being at a county home, and that happened in season 1, but the way he brings it up is just so deftly done. I love the way they do callbacks in this show.
It's good writing. It's real good writing.
And then finally, on my list, the most important be Bubbles.
Bubbles!
Bubs.
He's Bubbles.
I feel like, and I'm going to argue this isn't political, this is just my own life experience here, that Bubbles being that nice ne'er-do-well character reminds me of a few people I came across in San Francisco when I was living there. Some of the regular homeless folks, they seemed harmless enough. They joke with me, but also it's not like I was ever going to ask them what they did on a Friday night.
You don't want to know. You just let them go, do their heroin, and get free rides from cops for information.
Yeah, and when they're eating something good, you never ask them, oh, how did you pay for that?
No, yeah, you don't want to know.
No.
No one wants to know how the sausage is made.
On the street side of things, do you think they do a good job of catching the audience up on what happened in season 1?
Yes, I think they do. It helps a lot that half the characters are now in jail, and there's that compartmentalization of the situation. No offense to the characters, sorry you're in jail.
And it's a great system that the writers use in that they split up the exposition. It's not all Stringer telling us what happened the first year. He says a little bit, Bodie says a little bit, Avon says some of it, and through all that you can put together the picture if you haven't seen the first season.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Barksdale crew scene?
It's cheating if I just say every time they talk about comic books in prison.
No, that's not cheating.
Okay, every time they talk about comic books in prison. What was it? He came in and he's just like, oh, what's the difference between regular Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man? Like this, I feel like they're the same. I would say D'Angelo's like, the fact that you asked that means you don't know anything about it.
That was D'Angelo's fellow inmate asking him that. And he's one of the guys that dies from the hot shots. Do you wish they used Omar more in these first 4 episodes? Do you consider him a seasoning or a main dish?
I feel like the show's a stir fry, and he's the broccoli.
That sounds delicious, but please expand on that idea.
Some people are there for the rice, some people are there for the protein, some people are there for the carrots, but everyone wants the broccoli.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
I like broccoli in my stir fry.
It looks good.
What do you think of steamed broccoli?
If it's cooked right, it's pretty good, but it's easy to oversteam it, and oversteamed broccoli's gross.
I don't like mushy broccoli.
Exactly. Maybe blanch it.
Did you catch any symbolism in these episodes?
I know there's something to these corrupt men vying for favor at the church, because they're all godly men. They're all religious men, but they're corrupt. So I think this stained glass window debacle is definitely symbolic of something.
Probably, knowing David Simon. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. It's less symbolism and more of a double entendre, but it went over my head the previous times I've watched the show. So there's a scene where Bubbles is talking to another junkie, trying to get a line on Omar, and that guy says, "You want to talk to Omar? You need to be out in a corner with a big-ass package." Until now, I only thought of the drug definition of a package.
Oh!
But when you remember that Omar is gay, that line is even funnier.
It is funnier. Either going to get robbed or hit on gently.
Had you not caught that?
No, I didn't even think about it being a penis reference.
But I mean, it makes sense. It's great.
It does make sense. It makes perfect sense.
There's no way the writers did not consider that when they wrote it.
They probably were in the writer's room giggling.
But that's what's so great. It could be either or. You know, it works both ways. On this rewatch, was there an aspect of the story that struck you in a new way?
Back to the stained glass window thing, I don't think I really understood the impact that window would have on the overarching story. No one's looking into Sabatico. Sabaka.
Take two.
Yeah. No one's looking into Frank.
Good one. I'm gonna have to keep that all in there.
Okay, good. Yeah, no one's looking into Frank because of unless the major doesn't want to surprise someone over a stupid window. I didn't really think about that the first time through because of the women, right, in the container. But Frank's got two details on him. Would only be one looking at the dead girls, but now the other one's looking into corruption and everything else. That he's definitely going to get caught.
So do you think that's almost like the hand of God at play here?
Let's say yes. Let's call that the symbolism.
Because the church incident struck that match?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
The fuck do you want from me? He's an E-rating, you're a G. He wants to ship, he gets to ship. Seniority, Mims, seniority. There ain't no union without it, brother.
Your sweetheart's out there.
I gotta go, Mims. I got to.
Kinda empty in here.
Everyone's working.
You getting the message?
Message?
I had people working on a window for the nave up St. Casimir's since Easter. You know that? I took money from half a dozen different people, told them where it was gonna go.
You tell Father Lewandowski?
I was gonna surprise him.
Yeah, you surprised everybody. Now there's one window too many, right?
Well, here's the thing. Father Lou says he could take another window in the rec on the second floor.
Good for you.
No, good for you, Frank. You don't want my finger in your eye. You better do what's right here.
What's right, huh? What's right would be for you to come down here to my house like a decent human being and ask a common courtesy. But that's not you. It's not your way. My old man always said you were a half-assed punk over at Holy Redeemer as a kid. And my sister said you were a pain-in-the-ass pest at all them CYO dances when none of the girls would even look at you. And damn near everyone down the point said when you got your badge, it was too much for anybody named Valchek to have even a patrolman's drag. And sure enough, you've been an official asshole every day since. Fuck you! And your window!
I was paying a lot more attention to Frank because I wanted to see how much of his ill-gotten gains he used on himself. And so far, it really looks like he's not bullshitting when he says that all the money goes toward trying to save his local chapter. He doesn't flash any money, and the only instances we get of him spending are to help out a member that's in tough times, hiring a lobbyist to get the dredging project through so more ships will come through the docks. There is the stained glass window and the big donation to the Polish church. You could argue he does that out of vanity, but I lean toward him getting on the church's good side so they'll help him with political contacts, which brings it back to getting his people to work.
There was a scene where he talked to the father about people he knew.
He is a union fat cat lounging around the office, but he genuinely seems to care about the docks. I think he would give the shirt off his back if it meant the dredging project would get approved. Makes his tragedy even worse that he seems like a nice guy.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
But at the same time, he is oily in his union role. There's that one scene where Ziggy is screwing up at the job, and this trucker's pissed because Ziggy can't find a shipping container. And then Frank gets involved, and he says something like, "You're done for the day, take off that vest, you're fired, Zig, I don't ever want to see you back here again." And the trucker's all happy to hear that, and then somebody tells him, "Nah, man, he'll be back." Why? That's his son.
That's his kid, yeah.
So he's not entirely honest, he's playing a game too.
Oh yeah, he's not perfect. But you're right, there's a tragedy there, a tragedy to the character. End of episode 4, when he really thought about those dead girls he was throwing up in the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a great moment. No bullets in that scene.
None.
Do you think there's anything thematically that stands out in these episodes?
I think they're doing a good job of showing the good guys can be kind of bad people, the bad guys can be good people. Everyone is a deep character here. There's no black and white. I think the theme is shades of gray.
Does Stringer Bell do anything that isn't self-serving?
Yeah. I can't think of it, but yeah.
You just get lost in those eyes too often.
It's a beautiful man.
There is example after example of how institutions failed their mission statements. Yes, Frank is a good union boss, but all of it is from working with the Greek. If he didn't have that illicit cash, the chapter wouldn't be doing anything for its members. They'd march toward a slow death like some characters have mentioned. And then the special detail, Valchek orders on the Union, it doesn't get started because of legitimate police work. It's over that vendetta with Frank. McNulty, as much as I like him, puts in the police work to place where the floater went into the river, only to stick it to Rawls. Daniels was banished to the evidence control unit in the basement at the end of Season 1, and he would never have come out except Deputy Commissioner Burrell needed him out in order to play politics. Burrell even concedes that Daniels is a good investigator, but exiled him anyway for a year, cataloging evidence. In 2 instances, the spiked cocaine deaths at the prison and the dead girls in the can, where departments are playing hot potato, doing their darndest not to get stuck with the investigation. Man, The Wire really is a bleak show.
It is. It is.
How can you believe in anything after watching the show?
Yeah, because the bad guys want to work, the good guys don't.
Episodes 1 to 4, which storyline do you think is given the best scenes?
Episode 1, I think the cop storyline is the best scenes. Episode 4, dock workers have the best scenes. And then I'll get lazy and say episodes 2 and 3 are the best street side scenes.
Okay, so among the first 4, overall, you'd say the street gets the most love?
I think so, yeah, because they're in transition with the boss being in jail, Avon being in jail, and Stringer having to step up. They have the most reset to do, whereas the dock workers are brand new, they're still getting established, and the cops, really it's just showing McNulty and Daniels in their new bits, and that doesn't take very long.
I'm going to argue the strongest material involves the shipping container murders. Seeing how the cops investigate, and McNulty being McNulty, along with the fact that Frank and the Greeks are also digging into what happened. It's a good mystery to get into. Although I forgot how quickly the characters and the audience are allowed to piece it all together. The case isn't closed by the 4th episode, but we know most of what happened on the boat already.
Yeah, we just don't have names to faces, and that's about it.
Are there any other details you want to point out before we wrap this first part of our special presentation on The Wire?
I know McNulty got reassigned to the boat. He's never on it. He's always off doing his own gig. Like, how long is his lunch breaks? What is he doing?
Dude, there are a lot of lazy cops at the Baltimore PD. In the show, guys. In the show.
In the show.
I think that's part of the joke. We are supposed to get that he's not on the boat a lot. He's effing around.
He's hanging out with the detectives. He's hanging out with the coroner.
Because he seems like a guy that would complain a lot, but in reality he's not on that boat as much as we think he is.
Yeah.
I think I'll end with the same question one character asks another that you've alluded to previously. And I want you to answer it for me, John. Ultimate Spider-Man or regular Spider-Man?
I think it's an age thing. I'm a regular Spider-Man because that's what I had growing up. Ultimate didn't come out, I think, until I was almost 20. They streamline things in Ultimate. It's really nice. If you don't want to have to worry about all those years of history, go with Ultimate. But that Peter Parker does die. I'm going to warn you.
Jesus, man, you love spoiling things.
Spoiler alert.
I gotta agree with you. I was jazzed when Peter Parker became a science teacher, and Ultimate Spider-Man was too young to ever hold that job.
It was nice to see main universe Peter Parker grow, eventually have kids and be happy. We won't get into what's happening to him now.
I also find the Stan Lee era of Peter's teen years quaint and charming. Definitely regular Spidey all the way.
Yeah.
For all you non-comics fans out there, this final bit will do nothing for you. But come on back for part 2, and I promise we'll talk more Wire, episodes 5 through 8.
You gotta help me keep the devil down in the hole.
You've reached the end of this episode of The Screen Companion. Thank you for listening.